Excellent. So Ross, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. As we've discussed, this has been in the works for quite some time. Unfortunately, we had to postpone due to the big snowstorm a few weeks back, but it's fantastic having you here. You immediately accepted our request to have you come and share some of your leadership experience and so forth with all of our MBAs and MS business students and Mays Business School in general. And we really are grateful for that. I wanted to introduce Ross to everyone, so in case you're not aware of him. Ross Bjork began his position at Texas A&M as Director of Athletics on July 8th, 2019. He came to Aggieland from the University of Mississippi, where he served as the Director of Athletics for 7 years. His many achievements include back-to-back top 40 Director Cup finishes, ranked 39th in 2016-2017 among Division I institutions, and 38th in 2017-2018, as well as the university's first appearance in the College World Series in 42 years in 2014. New facilities and renovation improvements flourished under his leadership, including the Manning Center, the Pavilion at Ole Miss, and a large renovation at Vaught Hemingway Stadium. Bjork arrived in Oxford after a stint as Director of Athletics at Western Kentucky University. I got to tell you, we are very fortunate to have him at Texas A&M now, and definitely look forward, as Dr. Mahajan said, definitely look forward to seeing where he's going to take, along with obviously everybody else, where he's going to take Texas A&M athletics into the future. So without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to you, Ross. Thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate the opportunity to share with Mays Business School, and Dr. Arvind. Appreciate your comments as well. And no pressure. It sounds like I need to perform. I've been blamed since I've been at Texas A&M. We've had a global pandemic and the 2 worst snowstorms in the history of College Station. So maybe it's bad leadership on my part during the almost 2 years that I've been here in Aggieland. But no, it's great to be with everyone today. I know obviously we're living in this virtual world. In many ways, we've adapted. In many ways, it can be kind of maddening and frustrating along the way as well, because we crave, I think leaders crave face-to-face human interaction, and it's just been a lot different. So just one housekeeping item. If you hear a noise in the background, that is the train. My office is on the west side of Kyle Field. I have windows. Windows don't block train noises. Okay, so if I go on mute, it's because we have a train coming, and just like baseball, maybe we'll guess how many engines there are. So we'll have a little fun with that. But let's dive into it. I'll do I'm not really a big PowerPoint person, but I figure for this talk, doing virtual, we'll kind of have an outline. We'll talk about leadership, why it matters, and then definitely open it up for questions. So I love the topic of leadership. I think we can all continue to learn and grow, and I really believe in that. And so I always study what is making great leaders even more successful. And so it's an opportunity, hopefully, for me to share my perspective. Can everyone see it? The screen moved? Richard? Okay. To me, and this is at the bottom of this slide, leaders, they're not born. We all emerge in some way, shape, or form based on our experiences. And so my journey is on this page. You can see that everything for me starts with my family. So I've got Sonia right there. We've got Peyton, who's kind of hiding in the background. He's a 9th grader. 9th graders are too cool to be seen, so that's why he's in the background. And then Paxton is our vibrant 10-year-old. He's in 4th grade. And then we got Mickey and Maddie. Mickey is on my right shoulder in this picture. And then Maddie is a coronavirus dog. So sitting around the house in April, what do? Golly, you buy stuff, you go crazy on Amazon. We bought a dog. So Maddie is our coronavirus dog. I was fortunate enough to be a student athlete at a small school, Division II. obviously much different than here at Texas A&M, and that really formed my interest in college athletics, administration. I thought I was going to be a teacher and a coach. Emporia State is a teacher's college. You go there to be a teacher. And I just wanted to be involved in sports, and the football student athlete, that was my entrance point to becoming an athletic administrator. And so I've been a lot of places. It looks like I couldn't keep a job along the way, moved around a lot, but sometimes you have to, in order to move up, you've got to move on. And that was my journey. Lots of different places. The first time that I came to College Station was the stint at the University of Missouri. It was the fall of 1998. It was right after the formation of the Big 12 Conference. Came to Kyle Field. Place was going crazy. I thought it was going to fall down because the stadium was shaking. And it's still, even though we have a new stadium, it still shakes. So I've been impressed with A&M throughout my journey in college athletics. And so you move around a little bit. It forms your experiences. And again, leaders are not born. I really believe that they emerge. And then I'll talk about some of the things that attracted me here to Texas A&M. And like I said, I've been here since July 8th, 2019. We had a lot of great things happening, lots of momentum and lots of different things, whether it was the relationship building or just being visible in our community. And obviously we've all been kind of in our bunker the last 52 weeks. So here's our leadership portfolio. I think it's important that people understand, okay, you're a leader, but what are you leading? I think we all need to understand what is it that we lead. And so this is our portfolio here at Texas A&M. We have around 600 student athletes that we serve and help lead. We have 20 sports. We have about 330 employees. We have a lot of investors, if you will, active investors, season ticket holders, donors, people that come to our games. There's active people that are involved in our program. And then we have one of the largest former student alumni bases in the country, over 500,000 living former students, plus how many millions of Aggie fans here in the state of Texas, nationwide, worldwide. So we have a lot of people that are paying attention to what happens at Texas A&M athletics. That's a lot of constituents to lead and serve and message, and it's constant. It's big. It's a huge place. During a normal year, our operating budget is right around $155 million. It's not a normal year. Our budget was reduced to right around $90 to $100 million based on the pandemic and all the things that we had to go through. And then we believe in a integrated collegiate model. So Richard, you mentioned that I accepted this invitation to come speak to students. This is our job. We need to be part of the university. Again, we're here to be integrated. We need to be part of the mission of Texas A&M University and all that it stands for, and we're just a piece of it. We're not the most important thing that happens on this campus, not even close, but we are probably the most visible. And so with that comes a great responsibility to be a part of the mission, and that's why we say it's an integrated collegiate athletics model. So what does an athletic director do? So if you look at some of these pictures, there's a lot of fun in here, right? We're high-fiving, we're at games, we're speaking at Yale practice. Obviously, that was the fall of 2019. It wasn't the fall of 2020. We're able to interact with young men like Alex Caruso, who just won an NBA championship with the Lakers. General Ramirez. I love what the core stands for here at Texas A&M. We're handing out tacos to students lining up to buy tickets and to get into to Kyle Field. So there's just a lot of interaction. So sometimes I answer the question, hey, what does an athletic director do? A lot of times it feels like I give speeches and I watch games. So we have a lot of games this weekend, and I'm giving a speech to all of you this afternoon. But there's more to it than that. And so I really like to be organized around these four big aspects of what does an athletic director do. I think the most important thing that I do is make sure that we have the right people that lead to the success that Dr. Arvind mentioned, but also they impact our young people way more than I do. I can't be everywhere. I'm only one person. our coaches, our staff, our academic leaders, our trainers. We've got to have the right people. So that piece of it is very, very important. And then we are self-sustaining. We don't get any university support from a financial standpoint. We have to generate all of our own revenue and resources. And so that's a big part of what I do, is just how are we staffed? How are we financed? How do we raise money? How do we resource our athletic program? And then student athlete well-being. We're here because of our student athletes. They're the beginning and the end as far as what we do. And so what happens while they're here? And then what happens after they're done playing sports? So that life transition bullet point is there as a very important aspect. And then we're all teachers and educators. There's no doubt about it. We're here to teach and educate our student athletes. And then the last quote there is, we want to win. That is important. It's not the most important, but winning makes it fun. Winning makes all of you more excited, perhaps, about Texas A&M and wearing that Aggie ring, and there's pride that comes with that. And so we definitely want to win when we're on the field and on the court. One of the things that attracted me here at Texas A&M was the core values. Every place that I've been, I've had to institute core values. When I became the AD at Western Kentucky, there was no core values that anyone spoke about. Same thing when I went to Ole Miss in 2012. When I got here, core values are organic to Texas A&M. We actually have a campus named after our core values, right? The Rellis campus. And so to me, values are the influence. There's going to be things that happen. There's going to be challenges. You mentioned losing seasons. We hope we don't have losing seasons, but when we do, or when there's a bump in the road or a challenge, our core values will be our influence. They'll guide us through all the distractions, all the things that come our way. And so one of the things that attracted me here to A&M was the fact that we live these out. We don't just put them on a sign or put them on a column that's right outside my office. We actually teach these and we live them out. And you hear this mentioned so many times about the selfless service aspect or the excellence or the respect. It's a different mindset. I've been a lot of places like you saw. No one has a mindset like Texas A&M. And one of the reasons why I came here. So influence around our core values. All right, so let's talk about leadership. Okay, here's a question that I guarantee you either already had or you will have. So here's the question. You're in an interview, you're in a boardroom, you're trying to get that job after you graduate from the Mays Business School, and someone will ask you, hey, what type of leader are you? Or tell us your leadership style. Have people got that question? I can see some of you, on my screen over here. I'm sure you have, right? And so this is my opinion. It might be one of the worst questions that someone could ask. And the reason is because it all depends on what the situation is. So the answer, again, these are my opinions based on my experience. The answer could be a question back to them or perhaps a statement. The question could be, what's the situation? Tell me what the situation is. Is this a challenge or is it an opportunity? Do I need to be really, really firm and really, really strong in this decision making? Or is it something where, hey, we need to put our arm around somebody and we need to walk them through a challenge and there needs to be more compassion, perhaps, right? Your values don't change. We talked about core values as the influence, but your style, your approach, the tactics, the strategies, they may be different depending on the situation. So perhaps a way to answer that is, if you describe a situation, I may tell you my leadership approach, and I'll tie all this in hopefully at the end of it with some principles in a picture. So that could be your response. And this is what I believe in, is called situational leadership. When you understand this, when you learn this, when you realize that not every situation is the same, you can't apply the manual and we're going to talk about not having no manual related to a pandemic, you can't necessarily apply everything to every situation. So when you learn the situational leadership, when you become self-aware of who you are, who the surroundings are, when you have the right attitude, when you work extremely hard towards that leadership situation, then you might be able to describe, okay, this is how we handled it. This is the style that we had to use. In this case, I had to bring 100 people around the table and make a decision. Or in this case, because I'm the athletic director, it had to be my decision. I had to be the one with my authority, working with my boss, the university president, and make this decision. Each situation can be different. I've tried, Richard, to work with Faculty Senate on creating a new word. Haven't quite got that approved yet. But if you combine situational leadership, and leadership, maybe you can come up with a new word, situational ship. So again, what's the situation? What are the problems? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? Is it a really good thing? Is it someone presented you with a $100 million gift and they said, hey, we're giving you this money. You do with it as you please. Boy, that's a great opportunity. That leadership approach may be a lot different than, hey, you know what? You're down $55 million with your athletic budget. And how do you deal with that? Right? So situational ship, we'll see if we can get that word approved. So here's some principles that I've come up with along the way. Again, we all emerge, we all gain experience. Again, these are my opinions based on that experience. I think all of this starts with how do you approach it? What's your attitude and what is your effort towards that? How hard do you work and what is your attitude? It all starts there. There's a difference between leadership and management. Management is a lot of the technical things, the budget, the compliance, building a facility. Those are the management things. You should be able to do those things, but are you here to lead or manage? And hopefully you can understand the difference. Not if, but when. There's going to be a challenge. You're going to be hit with something that you didn't expect, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a snowstorm. It's not if, but when. You will be tested. I believe you have to build things to last. The commitment to the process. If you hear Coach Fisher talk, he talks about the process. He doesn't talk about, hey, we have to win this game. We have to go 9-1. He doesn't talk about that. He talks about we're committed to the journey that will yield the results that we want. Create a culture of excellence with really quiet confidence. The people that take out billboards to show how confident they are, I don't agree with that approach. Quiet confidence. We're going to keep our head down. We could have got really, really mad about not being in the college football playoff. We could have really put our fist on the table. We could have stomped our feet. We could have went out and complained. Guess what that would have done? Not very much. Wouldn't have changed a thing. So we're here to build it with a quiet confidence. Never too high, never too low. The emotion, right? Boy, things are going great. 9-1 in football. We don't know what's going to happen next year. Balance that out. Never too high, never too low. I don't believe that leaders can whine or complain or make excuses. There's a story. If you Google, I won't get into the whole story, but Google Joseph Merrick. He was known as the Elephant Man back in the late 1800s in England, and went around, and it was really a kind of a sideshow, and it really traumatized him as a human being, and he ended up dying at a really young age. But at the end of his life, he took on this no complaining, no excuses. He woke up every day. He read scripture. He didn't complain about his situation, even though he was really made fun of his entire life and was made as a sideshow. Very interesting. Boy, if he doesn't complain, then none of us have the right to complain about what's happening. This is where I think it all matters right here. And this leads to the last question. Greater good, serve others, motivate others, inspire others to overachieve. And it really goes into Are you a leader? I hope that you are. Hope you think that you are. And then really, why do you lead? What's the reason why you lead? Tell us why you lead. And really that's the heart of those last 4 bullet points. So those are some principles around situationship. All right, so how do you lead through a global pandemic? The only example that the United States would have, there's a couple fits and starts on swine flu and things like that, but really a truly global pandemic happened 100 years ago. And I don't think anyone left a manual to how we deal with a global pandemic while operating college athletics. And so as this hit us, essentially a year ago today, March 13th, we paused college athletics. Literally just, we paused college athletics. We don't know what tomorrow will hold. We don't know what Sunday will hold and Monday. How do we come back to class? Can we work out? Are we going to have games? And these, this little graphic over here are the notes that I had from about 1 o'clock for really, truly 365 days ago. Coronavirus, we had travel bans for international travel. What about games and practices and camps and clinics? And how do we clean our rooms and the strength and conditioning areas and the training room? International travel was a big topic at that point in time. We had some new words: social distancing, community spread, social mitigation. We never heard of those words before. And then you can see my note up here: we're stuck. We had to go through this because we were stuck, right? And then our principles that we used along the way were really 3 things: stay informed, stay organized, and just communicate as much as possible with as many people as possible. So that way there was nothing that we weren't sharing related to how we were leading through this. And then just like we are today, Zoom away, right? We're all on Zoom. And then there's some quotes that you guys have probably heard: within a challenge, there's an opportunity. Never waste a good crisis. So how do we adapt to all this? How do we take the great aspects of operating in a virtual world, or be more efficient, where we don't have to fly across the country and waste a bunch of time, where we can put 20 people on a Zoom meeting and get the same thing accomplished? How do we come out of this and be way more efficient, use the challenge that we had as an opportunity to grow and be way more efficient? So there's a principle, and I'm going to show this video. This guy's name is Jocko Willink. He's a former Navy SEAL. He does leadership training right now. He's got this perspective on extreme ownership, meaning I'll own it, whatever it is. I'll take responsibility. I'll own it. And he's also got this perspective called good. So when something bad happens, we always say good. Gives us a chance to fill in the blank. And so I'm going to show this video. I hope it works. If it doesn't, I'll put the link in the chat. So Richard, we will test our technology capabilities here. You hear it? No? Not working?
Is your volume turned on?
It is. Yep. That's all right. I'll share.
You know what? If you look at the box, so in the right corner, the right bottom corner, it looks like the volume's not up. Oh, it is.
Okay.
Okay.
How is that working? No?
No.
Okay. That's all right. You know what I'll do is I've got the link pulled up, so I'll drop it in the chat once we get into the Q&A. But the principle is good. Now we have more time to get better. Good. Now we have more time to get the funding that we truly need to deal with a strategic plan of some kind. And so this is the aftermath in terms of how I think of when there's a challenge. Okay, good. We get to start now. You know what? I can't fix yesterday. I can't fix the fact that we've had a global pandemic, but I know that I can start today with an attitude and I can move forward. Seize it. Hey, within that challenge is an opportunity. That was the quote I put up there earlier. if somebody violates your trust, if something happens where you have to have a personnel matter, send a message. Good. We'll send a message that we will uphold our values and we'll hold the right kind of people accountable. And then the extreme, good. We'll take extreme ownership of each situation because it's a leadership requirement. Again, no complaining, no excuses. I can't say, well, that's their fault. I wasn't in charge of that. We will take ownership of every situation. And then once we get out of this pandemic, we have to start thinking about the future. And so go on a campaign to get better. Campaigns should really never end. You should always be running towards something than running away from something. And so that's the good mentality. And like I said, I'll drop that video so you can pull it up later. So to me, this is why it matters. This is why you can be a leader. This is why you can figure out, why do you lead? Because it's really, really easy to be on the top of the mountain and scream out that you're the boss. But it's really, really hard to be the servant leader and you help people climb the mountain. So whoever all these people are that you can pull up on the mountain, that's why it matters. Because they need you. They need you as a leader. You may not think you're a leader. You may be emerging, like I said. But why it matters is because they need you, whoever they are. There's somebody out there that you can help, you can serve, you can motivate, you can inspire to do things they didn't think they could do. And to me, this is why it matters. Easy to be on top, but are you on the side of the mountain pulling people up? One of the greatest leaders of all time is Snoopy. Why? Because he doesn't say anything, but he's got lots of good principles. So I'll leave you with this. So let's go. Here we go. Let's make it happen. And then the secrets of life are always look ahead. There's my contact information. There's my email. You can tweet at me on Twitter. And Richard, I'm happy to, I'll stop sharing and then we can open it up for questions.
I mean, that was awesome, Ross. I mean, wow. You know, I mean, are you sure you haven't been an Aggie all your life?
I'm a quick study.
No, really.
That's why I came here. It was the values and the belief system and all the things that this place stands for.
Impactful message though, really. And you know, just a lot of really great nuggets to, like, I think, to share, you know, that you shared with everyone. And I'm sure a lot of our students in particular feel that way. I certainly do, even in my role. Absolutely a lot that I can learn from what you just talked about. So thank you.
Absolutely.
You all, if you want, you can certainly text your questions in the box, but at the same time, if you feel like you'd like to unmute and ask Ross a question directly, that's fine too, or raise your virtual hand, however you'd like to do it. Kirk?
Richard? Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Inspirational time today. I appreciate that, Ross. And I want to ask your question on this. And you talked about starting and ending with athletes and their well-being and their futures. And recently you had a brave athlete who mentioned that he was battling depression and stepped away. And we see mental wellness becoming more widely accepted to talk about. Dak Prescott, who just signed this giant contract, talked about it. From your standpoint, having been an athlete, dealing with young folks and having children of your own, do you see that as an opportunity, both as an athletic director and when you have a player step away saying, hey, my mental wellness needs help? Is that something that you talk about or think about? Appreciate your time.
So it's a great question, Kirk, and I really appreciate you bringing that up. And yeah, the young man Devin Morris played defensive back for our football team and posted on Twitter the other day about stepping away, and he's graduating in May. And it's a real issue. The amount of pressure that all of you young people are under, not just an athlete, but there's so many things coming at you. We talk about mental health all the time. It's 1A or 1B in terms of priorities. We're adding another mental health specialist to our athletic staff. We're doing that later this spring. We talk about it as a staff. We host these connecting conversations, not only for our student athletes, but for our athletic staff. I would say that our sports psychologist counselor group is probably the two busiest people in the athletic department. So it's a real issue. We're glad and really, really happy that the stigma is getting better, that people are not afraid anymore to put those things out there like Devin did. Because that's how you start. That's how you start allowing people to be more comfortable in sharing this. So it's a huge priority. I do believe that right now we have about 22 athletic trainers, somewhere in there. And they tape ankles and they do rehab, and if somebody gets hurt, those are the people that you see go out on the field. And so we'll have 3 sports psychologists. I believe at some point in time, you may have the same number of sports psychologists as you do athletic trainers. It may not happen in the next 2 years, but it may happen in 5 to 10 years. It's that real of an issue. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank you, Ross.
Thaddeus asks, can I go ahead and book a hotel room in Atlanta this December? SEC title shot? Question mark.
Let's see. Let's watch spring practice first, and let's see how the quarterback competition emerges. But no, that's boy, we love the momentum in football. Obviously, coming off a great season, going 9-1, being real close to the college football playoff, right on the doorstep. Tons of momentum. What I do love is you've got so many playmakers coming back, both on offense and defense. Tons of depth, but you also have some question marks, right? Who replaces the offensive line? You do have the quarterback competition. But as Jimbo said on the stage, we ain't going anywhere. So I would say prepare yourself.
Music to our ears. Ryan Staples, one of our Mays MBAs, has a question for you, Ross.
Ross, thanks so much for being here. I wanted to get your insights on how you're able to balance the weight of your role and responsibilities with self-care and also family care.
It's a great question. I didn't share it, but I've got what I just call like a life list. And it's just kind of my own personal principles. And one of the first thing on that list is love my family and friends. So it's gotta start there. Even though we spend a lot of time on our jobs, on our profession, when I'm at the house, when I take my 10-year-old to school every morning, unless I'm traveling. So I have those. You just have to make sure that you're intentional about the moments with your family. And then another thing that's on that list is sleep and work out, take care of my body. So I don't know if I go to sleep pretty easy, but I probably don't sleep as much as I want to. I can go to sleep really fast, but sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about something. But I try to do something physical every day. Again, for that sort of that release, whether it's mental, physical, and then just, you have to balance out the time. If there's I see Anna on here from our women's basketball team. Howdy, Anna.
Howdy.
She's on here. If there's an Aggie game and one of my kids has a game, I'm going to my kids' game. And I'm probably in the stands watching it on my phone, watching the Aggie game on my phone, but I'm going to my children's events because, again, they're the beginning and the end for me. But I love our student athletes. I love going to games. I try to make everything that I can. And you take it in stride and you just try to keep that, what they call balance. Great question, though. Thank you.
That's great, Ross. Yeah, actually, just FYI, I don't know if you know this, Ross, but Anna is actually soon to be graduate of the MS Business program. So, and of course, an SEC rock star on the basketball court. So we're very fortunate. Our associate director of the full-time MBA, Dr. Sarah Yachts, has a question for you.
Yeah, howdy, Ross. I really appreciated you talking about the COVID response and highlighting some of the importance, like the 3 important aspects, and the communication one being very important. I know that at an organization like Texas A&M that is so large, that communication strategy looks different at different levels, right? And it also, some levels of the organization can do that a lot better than other levels at times. So my question for you is, within athletics, what did that communicate? What did it actually look like? And how did y'all do it within athletics to really make sure that athletes, staff, all the folks involved, coaches, felt comfortable and knowledgeable, and just that you over communicated during that process? What did it actually look like?
Yeah, great question, because it's a big place. Coming from Ole Miss, 20,000 students, 70,000 students. Different structure. We have a system. We have a Texas A&M system. We have university administration. My boss is the president. That person reports to the chancellor. So there's a lot of communication up and across and down. And so it's communication is key. What I started when I got here, and so maybe this paid dividends during the pandemic, is we started hosting a monthly all staff meeting. So all employees come into one room. We do it once a month. We have a guest speaker. So we try to inspire them through some sort of message. We have our head coaches give an update on, hey, here's what's happening with our sports. And then we have informational items. We're not solving every problem in that meeting by any means, but we're sharing information. So we were able to continue those meetings, obviously, once we discovered what Zoom is and was at that time. The other thing that we did is we also hosted just open forums with our athletic staff and our student athletes. And we allowed people to submit questions ahead of time, so no one could feel like, hey, I can't ask this question confidentially, right? So we allowed them to do it anonymously. So we did that, I think we did that at least 3 times over the summer months and into the fall, where our staff could hear what was happening and ask candid, honest questions. And there were some answers where we said, we don't know. We don't have that answer yet. And so I think admitting that piece of it allowed people to be like, okay, this is real. This is a challenge. We don't have all the answers. So those are some of the platforms. And then again, we've all been kind of in bunkers and not being able to be maybe normal, but any sort of face-to-face interaction, it may just be popping into someone's office or walking down the hallway, or just allowing people to feel like, hey, you care about them, I think led to some of our communication success throughout this. So those are some of the things. Good question. And then at the university level, I'm on 2 meetings a week that are continued around COVID. That's with all the vice presidents, all the university leadership. So they're hearing from athletics. I'm hearing what's happening from them. I can pass that to our staff. Lots of different tactics along the way.
Wow. Tate Allison, one of our professional MBAs, is on. Tate, go ahead.
Hi, Ross. Thanks for doing this. It's pretty awesome to have this kind of opportunity. I'm kind of fascinated from a daily operations standpoint, how much life changed, after that day in March, and daily testing for athletes, measures put in place to limit contact tracing, new sanitization measures, things like that. And I'm sure it changed just 100% for your daily operations, include for all sports. Is there anything that that you have adapted that was new to 2020 that you can see saying, like, I like the way we're doing this, and I think this continues on into the future?
Great question. We're studying many of those things right now because we see, right, we're coming out of the other side of this, right? And we're seeing a lot of positive momentum. I mean, the president last night said by July 4th, he envisions people in their backyard having cookouts, barbecuing, right? And so we're seeing a lot of good momentum. Anna, as a student athlete, knows the protocols. I mean, we have to really give our student athletes a ton of credit. I mean, they adapted, they pivoted, they dealt with the swab in their nose at least 3 times a week, Anna, during the season, 3 or 4 times, depending on the rhythm of our games. Just a lot of adaptation for our student athletes. The things that I see staying are virtual recruiting. Now, we still need to visit student athletes, prospective student athletes, face-to-face in their homes, at their high school, but does that need to happen as often? So I really see virtual recruiting things staying. Not 100% by any means, but I see some things making us way more efficient in the virtual world. Paperless tickets. If you came to a game this year, you didn't have a ticket in your pocket. It was on your digital device. Those kind of things will remain in place. Beyond that, I mean, I hope we're not wearing masks too much longer, but if that's the last thing to go, we'll stick to that. Those are some of the things that we're talking about right now, is the digital things, the virtual things, making us way more efficient in how we operate. The travel, perhaps there's some things that'll continue in terms of we're not traveling as many people around because you're able to do these virtual settings. And I'm not just talking about recruiting, but just business meetings. We have a relationship with Adidas. Do we need to fly to Portland, or do they need to fly here when we have meetings? We can get on the virtual platform. So those are the things that we're talking through really as we speak, as we start to see the other side of this. It's a great question, though, because we just had that conversation at one of our last senior staff meetings.
Excellent. Braden Facemeyer, one of our Mays MBAs, has a question for you. Braden.
Hi, thank you for taking the time today. I had actually 2 quick questions. The first was, I'm kind of curious as to your reaction with the Michigan State basketball team today announcing that they're changing their team name to the Spartans associated with Rocket Mortgage. If that would kind of, just your overall reaction to that. And then my second was, I'm actually interested in getting into college athletics. When you are getting into it, how did you get your foot into the door? What was the first step that you took to break through?
Yeah, I'll answer the second question first. Get experience. You've got to find a way to get experience. Apply for any sort of student worker job, internship. You've got to get your resume built up. And what I started doing as an undergrad is I started volunteering in the athletic department at Emporia State. Again, small school, a lot different than the size and scale of Texas A&M. But you've got to get a start somewhere. And typically it's going to start with an internship or a volunteer position or student worker. But get it. The key is to get in. Get in, you start meeting people, you build your network. You can kind of go from there. The first question. So yes, there was some news yesterday. Michigan State basketball presented by, I think, Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage is owned by a CEO who played basketball at Michigan State, and so obviously there was a connection there with a former player. I don't know. I haven't really studied it on the surface. I think it can be a real slippery slope. When you get into that, because we're entering an era, and this is probably another Zoom session, Richard, we're entering an era around what's called name, image, likeness. So student athletes like Anna, not quite yet, it hasn't been approved through the different layers, but student athletes will start being able to monetize, make money on their name, image, likeness through social media, through business relationships. Right now, that's prohibited by the NCAA rules. And so maybe Michigan State thought, you know what, this is going to open up to student athletes anyway. And so now we're going to do it as an athletic department, as a basketball program. But I think it opens them up for, especially now, to announce that now when there's a Supreme Court case that is getting ready to start to be heard around all of this student athlete compensation. You have Congress debating several federal bills around name, image, likeness. You have state by state bills that are being introduced. Texas right now has 3 draft legislative bills through the state legislature here in Texas. It's pretty risky time to be putting something out there like that. So that's my initial thought on that. But it's fascinating. And obviously the guy, I think he gave $33 million, I think, was his donation amount. So a significant gift for sure.
Yeah, I've actually been hearing a lot about that whole likeness and all of that on the university sports station on Sirius XM. They've been talking about that quite a bit. And I think there's already been a law or some laws passed, I think, out in California, if I'm not mistaken.
California, there's I think there's 9 states who have signed bills. California, Florida, Iowa, New Mexico, and some of them start July 1st.
Wow. And
Some of them are a little bit later, but yeah.
The effect it'll have on competition, right? I mean, if you know you can do that in X school and you can't do it in Y, well, of course you're going to obviously go to X, right? There's a lot of that, I think, that might play into this. Okay, great. We have another question here. Hosin asks, to your point about staying informed, which sources of information do you use to achieve this? Which communication style would you recommend for whiners?
Communication style for whiners? Probably a padded room by yourself and just like punch the wall and then get it out of your system and then step out and deal with the situation. No, I think that's hard, right? I mean, look, we're naturally sort of pessimists, right? We all, oh God, this is really bad, or this is a challenge, or so it's hard. I mean, look, I'm not saying that every day I wake up and be like, all right, let's go, it's all good, right? I mean, there's challenges. We all have to fight our way through it. But I think you just have to take it one step at a time. And really, if you kind of boil it down into a simple form, right, then maybe the whining, if you kind of say, okay, let me just write down what the issues are and start attacking it one by one. Maybe that's a communication style for whiners or complainers. And we've all, you've heard the term energy vampires. They suck the life out of the room, right? I mean, we've all kind of heard that term. And so how do you be prepared with either data or facts to be like, yeah, okay, these are some bad things, but also let me tell you about the good stuff that's happening. I mean, our men's basketball team, we missed 9 games this year. Okay, that's not good. But across the athletic department, we played 89% of our athletic contests through a pandemic. And so, again, data, facts, positive things. If you're a whiner or complainer, there are some good things you can always bring to the table.
Excellent. Dr. Mahajan has a question for you.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. So Ross, coming back to decision making and trying to maximize whatever we are trying to maximize in companies, decision making, especially regarding leadership change, CEO change, the metrics are somewhat well defined. Earnings per share, stock price, what have you. What is the process of decision-making of leadership change in athletics, especially in an organization like A&M or UT, where you have multiple stakeholders, and while coaches have great winning records, the wins are just not enough. Now I'm reminded of, for example, R.C. Slocum or Mac Brown at UT, and then colleges make that decision, perhaps because the pressure of the alums who or former students who are a big stakeholder, but then they go through a period of lengthy drought. So what is that process of decision making, of deciding when to jettison one leader? And what is the process of determining how to replace them with what alternative?
It's a great question, and it plays into lots of different things. Politics, what do they say? All politics are local, right? So it's a political landscape, it's wins and losses, it can tie into finances. I really believe on the front end that you need to have as many high-level relationships as you possibly can build and find. Who are those key people, so that when there is a challenge, you're not surprised by, well, I've never heard from this person before, but now that we're not winning in football, they have an opinion or they have influence or whatever it might be. So I think building relationships early in whatever tenure that is critical. So I've tried to do that. We'll do more of that when we kind of reopen. And then it's going to come down to typically probably those two things. Do you have a winning record? What is that record? And then what is it leading to? What is the fallout? Is it leading to a loss of revenue, an empty stadium, a bunch of student athletes transferring, people dropping season tickets, right? And maybe that person is on the right track, but there's no momentum.
Mhm.
Maybe they have all the ingredients that you would ever want in a coach or a leader, but you've just lost momentum and you can't get it back. And so you just have to have a new voice and have to make a change. And then just, you have to communicate. No surprises with my bosses, right? So it's the communication piece of that. But those are the metrics I think you all have to look at when you're making those decisions. Performance-based, finances, student athlete environment. Are they having a good experience? Does the person believe in the core values that Texas A&M has? Are they violating those values? All those things go into that decision-making process.
Thank you.
Excellent. Sarah has another question. Sarah.
Yeah, not to oversimplify this, but one of the biggest pieces of leadership or biggest parts of it is working with others, right? Working with people. And we know how different people are, and you work with a lot of different people. So you mentioned in your leadership style about the importance of being able to motivate others, right? In order to get to that larger goal and make progress. So how do you motivate others, or how do you go about finding what motivates them to get the most out of those folks? Because you talked about having the right people on your team. Part of that is they need to be motivated too. So how do you go about doing that?
I think the first thing, again, this is just my opinion based on my experiences. I think the first thing is you have to show them that you care about what they're doing. And so part of that is just showing up and supporting Anna at a women's basketball game. I mean, it'd be real easy, again, to kind of watch it on TV, never see Anna, but I feel like I can give Anna a fist bump and a high five, and she knows who I am as the athletic director. And so I really think that it starts with, does that person know that the leadership of the athletic department cares about them? And then I think they'll be motivated. And then, yeah, there's some different strategies. We can have leadership summits and, communicate that way. And we do all those kind of things. I think the other thing is that the success of other programs fuels motivation for other programs that may not be as successful to step it up. So part of what we do with those all staff meetings is when head coaches give reports and Gary Blair says, yep, this week we're ranked number 2 in the country. We've only lost 1 game. We just won the SEC championship. Like, sharing successes in the world that we live in. We have the best academic performance in the history of the athletic department going on right now. GPA, graduation rates. we're going to share that, because that'll motivate everybody else to fuel what we're trying to do. So those are some things that that we try to accomplish.
Excellent. Let me just see if there's one more question. Yes, one more. Ryan, do you want to ask yourself? Yeah, Ryan?
Yeah, sure. So Ross, you were asking earlier, if you got into like an interview, what would be the question they'd ask you? They'd say, what type of leader are you? So what would be your answer to that question?
I gave it to you. What's the situation? Do I need to pound my fist on the table and really be firm and like direct and, hey, no, this is what we're going to do? Or is it going to be a more maybe collaborative approach? I really believe that the situation dictates how you approach it. It truly does. Never change your values. Don't get me wrong. Don't take, well, that's kind of a wishy-washy approach, right? Okay, what kind of leader is he? Truly, you have to adapt to the situation. So I can be really firm. And I think you could ask our staff here at Texas A&M, or you could ask the staff at my previous stops. Hey, he can be firm. You know what? But he also understands the situation where maybe there's a little more compassion. Maybe there's more teamwork or collaboration that needs to take place. So my style as a leader is, I'm here to serve others. And at the end of the day, that's going to be the style that dictates, I think, how we have success is the service mentality. What's the situation? How do we deal with it?
Excellent. There's one last question. Yes, he has his hand held up. If you wouldn't mind just unmuting.
Yeah, Ross, this is Paul Bush. I'm on the faculty here at A&M. And I'd like to just get your take on this. I've been around universities, big universities all my life, Wisconsin, Penn State. And one of the things that seems to have shifted is that, you know, coaches, there wasn't nearly as much turnover as there was in the past. And now, so that's one big issue. And I wonder if coaches really get enough time to build the foundation that they need, or if they get the legs cut out from under them. That's one thing. And then secondly, and I'd really like to hear your comment on this, is that the expectations of fans, in my opinion, have just gotten unrealistic. So those are my 2 points, and if you could just comment on those.
I see this as being recorded, so I won't comment on fans. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think, look, I think they both tie in together. I think your points about maybe shorter expectation timeframes on turning things around or being successful, along with fan expectations tie in. To me, this is what's happened in college athletics. We're all sort of we all kind of victimize ourselves in this manner. Frankly, the money into the equation has gotten so big that coaches are making multi-million-dollar contracts. There's multi-million-dollar buyouts. The student athletes, that's why we're seeing this name, image, likeness, right? The student athlete voice has changed around the scholarship model and compensation and all those things. So I really believe that as the money has gotten bigger, Texas A&M's budget before the SEC was right around $60 million. And now we're at 155 million. So I think the money has gotten so big. We've asked our fans to pay high ticket prices, and I'm speaking mainly about football. And so their expectations should be at a high level. At a place like A&M, if we didn't have high expectations from our fans, then I'd be worried. So I want people that care. I want people to have high expectations, but I think your point about coaches' tenures, fan expectations, I think the money has gotten kind of in the way. It's kind of clouded some of the thought processes along the way. So we're fortunate that we can build facilities where we have our own women's basketball practice gym. We don't have to fight over time with the men's team or the volleyball team, or they can go in and practice. Those are great to have. But we've built this up so big that it clouds some of the thinking. And I don't know if I don't know if it'll go backwards. I don't know if it'll be stopped. We don't know what the future holds. There's a lot that's going to change around the student athlete support. And so we'll see where we are in 5 to 10 years.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Well,
thank
look-
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that question. Ross, man, we've come to the hour. We could probably
Okay.
sit here and just chat with you all day, but we know you've got a lot on your plate. We do too, but it has been a real pleasure having you at Mays Business School today. And I don't know, Dr. Mahajan, you want to say anything else before we head out?
No, I thought this was excellent. There were profound insights, and I appreciated, notwithstanding the fact that this is being recorded, I really appreciate your forthrightedness. And the latter point really requires deep thought in higher education as to the role of athletics in the complete development of a good citizen. And, in the Greek sense, all aspects of a human being have to be developed to lead a fulfilling life. And with money, is that equilibrium being jeopardized a little bit? And I think our philosophers and academics need to do some serious thinking about it. And I appreciate your broaching that topic directly, because a non-trivial, even though controversial subject, is really a non-trivial subject. But I think everything else you've shared with us, I love the idea of situational leadership. You cannot just put leaders in one monolithic group. You have to change, adapt. I think your insights have been very valuable and frankly inspiring as well. Thank you very much, and we'll very much look forward to having you again in Mays Business School in some form, and hopefully physically, to be able to take advantage of your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Everyone
thanks
wish
a lot,
Anna
Ross.
good luck in the NCAA tournament.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anna.
You bet. Hey, Ross, any last thoughts for all of our MBAs, MS business students, student athletes?
No, I would just, I put out a tweet earlier about this. It's been 1 year, but I said, the future will be better. So I think we just all have to be, hey, stay safe, keep doing what we need to do to stay safe, but there will be another side of this. So we will come out of this.
Excellent.
Thanks, Richard.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We'll be in touch soon, Ross. Thank you.
Yegem.
Thank you.
Yegem.
Yegem.
Thanks, everyone.